Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 9th official episode of the TRVL Travel Photography Podcast. My name is Greg Snell, I'm your host, and today we have a special guest coming to us live from the Arctic, from Svalbard. This is Piet van dem Bemd. Tried to say that multiple times. Oh, looks like I got it. Awesome. Piet's originally from the Netherlands, but spends a ton of time up in the Arctic. And he is a really, really talented travel photographer, wildlife photographer. And we wanted to have him on the podcast to introduce you guys to somebody that you may have never heard of. Similar to the last guest, actually, with Jared Salem. But Piet, I'll let you take it away. Please introduce yourself. Who is Piet van dem Bemd?
Piet van den Bemd. Nature enthusiastic. Love everything about the outdoors. Love to travel. Love to explore, but mostly love to share this with other people. Right? That is really what I like to do, and to work in places like the Arctic, where I'm now, polar bears, beautiful landscapes, ice, glaciers, fantastic light. Everything is changing. It's very dynamic. In the Arctic, but as well in Antarctica, obviously. I try to spend a good amount of time in Antarctica and the majority of the year in Svalbard, though. Make people enthusiastic about places like this. I mean, it's a fast changing environment, and it's not only negative stuff, right? There's a lot of good things happening, but to make people aware of it and to share it, to photograph it, create passion, and it's great. I love it.
Okay, well, let's dig into it a bit because you are in Svalbard at the moment, and you just got off of an expedition yacht that you were on for like 2 weeks. Looked absolutely fantastic. If you guys aren't following Piet, you need to definitely get on that because some of his adventures are crazy. So, are you in like the height of the expedition season up in Svalbard right now?
What is it? No, mid-August, I would say. So depends a bit on the year. Depends a lot on the ice situations in the north. The pack ice starts to break up around Greenland by now, mid-August usually. It starts to open up, so a lot of the ships, they move by mid-August, third week, fourth week of August, towards northeast Greenland, because until now it has been completely blocked by ice, and there's very few ships that actually make it up there. But by now it starts to open up and the ice starts to move south. So ships, they move from Svalbard to East Greenland because the season there is very short before it gets dark again. So I would say May, June, July is main season Svalbard, summer tourism. And then by August, September, a lot of the ships, they move towards East Greenland. They explore the national parks there, very remote as well. Huge icebergs, much less wildlife than Svalbard. And then by October, November, Antarctic seasons, they start, of course.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, the seasons are opposite. So the summer in Antarctica is the winter up in the Arctic, and vice versa, of course. Yeah, so interesting. So you're kind of coming to the end then of the Svalbard season. Will you move over to Antarctica or to Greenland? Excuse me. Do you have any trips planned for North Greenland?
This year, not. I'm not doing East Greenland. Next year is the solar eclipse, which is how do you call it? The best scene from East Greenland. So next year we full go for East Greenland, northern light photography, icebergs, solar eclipse.
Yeah.
East Greenland next year was the
classic photography planning right there. Yeah, I'm also going to East Greenland next year, right around this time, actually, end of August, beginning of September. So
beautiful time of the year. From the 15th of August and 9th, it started to get dark enough again to have northern light. Aurora Borealis starts to come from the second or third week of August. Huge icebergs, fantastic mountains. I mean, the landscapes are just out of the world. Very different than Svalbard, geology-wise and ice-wise. We don't have that much icebergs in Svalbard. It's more sea ice, early season, and then burger bits and pieces that come off glaciers. But the glaciers, they are in Svalbard, they're not the size as they are in Greenland. But different countries, different parts.
Yeah, I mean, Greenland's also the second biggest ice sheet in the world, right? It's got massive glaciers coming down. Okay, cool. Yeah. So let's move back like decades. So you're originally from the Netherlands. Tell
Yes.
me a bit about your childhood. I know you ended up going to the Arctic as a teenager, but like, how was it that you got so like into traveling? Like, what gave you that spark?
I must say I'm very fortunate with two parents that traveled a lot. They took me all over the world. So I have a younger brother and an older sister, and two parents. My father is a professional photographer, so I guess I learned a lot from him in the old days when I was a teeny tiny boy. I It took me all along the world, all over the world, really, to travel. And he was a smart man. He put on the invoice as camera assistant, but nobody knew that I was a 7-month-year-old baby, basically, and he charged already $70 an hour for me. So I guess that's child labor today. But yeah, I traveled a lot with my parents. My mom used to work for KLM, the Dutch airline company. My father being a photographer. My sister studied and lived in India. My younger brother spent loads of time in South America, and I just love the Arctic. And
Jeez, when do you
yeah,
guys
that's
see
what
each
we
other?
spent.
So
Yeah,
your dad, that's amazing. Your dad was a professional photographer. Did he shoot a lot of travel stuff? Was it a lot of cultural photographs, or what was his
he
main?
was a location scout. So in the old days, right before internet and things were easier to find,
Yes.
like he did a lot of commercials, cinema, videos, how do you call it? And then yeah, it really was like a car brand would need a television commercial of 30 seconds, and that car was driving through the beaches, over the mountains, through beautiful forest. And my dad would fly from China to New Zealand to Canada to scout all these places, get a couple of photos, come back to, let's say, Volvo, and show a couple of images, and they would say, I want that, that, and that. And then my dad said, well, then we go to Canada, New Zealand, and China. And then they would fly. I mean, there was so much money going on in this industry before the internet, obviously. Made it all a lot easier and made the world a bit smaller, I guess. Um, but yeah, he took me to Scandinavia when I was teeny tiny, tiny.
Wow. Okay. So that you're right. That's very fortunate. That's an incredible upbringing. Your mom and dad sound like they love travel and they sort of pass that on to you. So where does your like first memorable experience of the Arctic or the Antarctic come into play? Like, were you still a teenager when you got up to the Arctic for the first time, or?
Well, the thing is, so the Arctic, it's a big area, right? The Arctic, the polar circle starts at 66 degrees,
Yeah, 66
66.3
degrees
degrees
north.
south, no, north, yeah, and south Antarctic circle. Um, so basically everything north of there, which is a huge part of Scandinavia, and the mainland, Norway, Finland, Sweden, there's a sub-Arctic, let's say, and then of course now I'm in Svalbard, 78 degrees north. That's what we call the high Arctic. Um, but I used to study and live in northern Norway when I was in my mid 20s, and the first real memorable experience I that pops up is a journey that I did with my dad um, in northern Sweden and Finland when I was 13-year-old boy. And we were filming racing cars spinning on the ice on the frozen lakes in Finland. And we came across Sami people, a lot of the local people, and they just shot a moose and they put me inside the antlers of the moose. It was huge, and I was a little boy in this large rack of antlers. Those kind of memories, yeah. Snowmobile driving when I was 13 years old.
That's incredible. Yeah, I've only been to northern Finland once, up into the Lapland area, and that was absolutely amazing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, growing up in Canada, we have sort of the stories of the Arctic North and the Canadian Shield and the tundra, and of course all the stories of the First Nations and the Inuit people that have been living up there for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And I've always been really interested in that part of Canada as well. So it sounds like yeah, that sort of Arctic draw got you and brought you in. So you said you studied in Norway. Do you have like a university education? Did you go to school, or because I don't either. I'm curious. I don't
The
know.
thing is,
So
I studied ecology and wildlife management, or at least I started the studies.
That's post like high school, ecology and wildlife management in a university.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the thing is, I ended up working at a whale watching company, or yeah, as a bit of a side job, and in northern Norway, in Vesteralen, just north of Lofoten, beautiful area. All the photographers, they go to Lofoten, Lofoten, the mountains, and Rhine, but actually Vesteralen is just situated just a bit north of it, and it's much prettier. So everyone who listens today, skip Lofoten, it's too busy. Skip the camp events, skip the tourists, go to the Vesteralen. And even there, if you're bored, go to Senja, if you have heard of it.
Yeah, Senja is pretty nice.
Well, anyway, so I spent quite a few years there, and there was a scientist, and actually Andenes, this the whale watching city. It becomes more and more popular now. They have a lot of sperm whales, probably one of the best places in the world to see sperm whales very close to shore. But they have pilot whales, humpback whales, lots of orcas, and obviously everyone loves orcas, right? Beautiful black and white animals. And they have a huge population, or they have a lot of orcas visiting the waters of northern Norway throughout the year. And I had my first camera, and I tried to help a little bit with photo identification of killer whales. So taking images of the dorsal fin with the saddle patch behind the dorsal fin from the left side of a killer whale. And if you do that constantly, there was a lady that dedicated all her time and energy on identifying different orcas, because it is like a fingerprint, really. If you watch the dorsal fin with all the nicks and the scars and the marks of an orca, you will identify different individuals by the photos. So that's what I used to do, and then every now and then I got a kind of an okay-ish photo, a nice photo, until a man. So I took a photo, and then at some point there was a man who asked me, "Hey, can I buy that photo of you?" I said,
Okay.
"You don't need to buy it. You can just I give it to you."
Yeah.
And he said, "No, I wanna pay for it." He said, "How much?" I said, "Well, then if you really insist of paying for it, then I just give you my bank account, my bank details, and I let you decide how much you find it worth it." So a couple of days later, I checked my bank account, and he sent so much money that I thought, "Ooh, this is interesting. This is much better than guiding or yeah." So I tried to start to sell a couple of photos, and that worked out a little bit, and then all of a sudden the studies, they were left behind, and I went into full-time guiding, and I got my skipper licenses, and I started to work more and more, and northern Norway became too small, and then I wanted to go to the real north. Time to go to Svalbard. Polar bears, small whales, extreme, ice, glaciers. And now I've been doing this for a couple of years.
And that's how that happened, huh? Okay. Jeez. So you sold one picture. How did you get into the photography? Like, who gave you your first camera? Was it your dad, or did you buy one? Like, where's that story come from?
It's a funny story though. This is a long time ago though. I was traveling in Costa Rica, an exchange program from university. Traveling in Costa Rica, I got robbed at the border of Nicaragua. Absolutely everything was gone. So I was backpacking. They stole everything: passport, wallet. They put me out in the in my underwear, and I had a Canon 6D. I borrowed it from my uncle with a plastic 75 to 300 mil lens. And that was the first camera, but I borrowed it from my uncle, and they stole it. And I loved to take photos in Costa Rica. I mean, if you have been to Costa Rica, the biodiversity, the wildlife everywhere, it's just gorgeous. And even though the camera was like, I think it was 3 photos, and then it had a buffer time of 8 seconds again before you could shoot a couple of photos, and I had small SD cards. But I loved the photography, and I was gutted that I lost my camera. And I had no money really. long story short, I had to go to San Jose, to the capital, to report report to the police, and I had to get a new passport or credit cards and blah blah blah. And I started to Google where I can buy a new camera, and I went with a taxi to each Canon or camera store throughout San Jose, and they didn't have any professional or semi-professional cameras. Long story short, at the end of the day, there was a taxi driver who understood what I wanted, and he brought me to a Canon factory. There are cameras being produced in Costa Rica, and I got in there. I spoke to someone, and it was a Dutchman, and he said it is impossible to sell cameras because they produce and deliver straight to America. They don't sell there. And I told him my story, and I got a camera straight from the, how do you call it, the belt, straight from the production line, with one lens, one body, and he never made me pay for it. Probably someone is going to get fired today at Canon if they hear this story. But yeah, so they gave me a body, they gave me a lens, and he sent me away. And that was my first camera that I got myself. I gave it back to my uncle though, because I felt I lost his camera. And I got that same camera back for my birthday a year after.
Okay, was it the 6D again off the belt in San Jose? Because that was like one of their first, like, I mean, it was a DSLR, but it was full frame. I mean, yes. The 60 Mark II is a really popular camera, but
I never had the Mark II.
You never had the Mark II?
I never had the Mark II, but I had the 60.
Yeah, because they're even making a Canon EOS. I think it's the R6 as well now, right? There's the R6 too. Yeah. Okay. Man, what a story, dude. Yeah, so you don't know, but I used to live in Costa Rica in 2007. Long time ago. Yeah, I spent a year in Costa Rica, and I know the border with Costa Rica and Nicaragua really well. But I'm sorry to hear that you got robbed, down to your underwear. That's a traumatic experience, actually. That's really, really shitty. So yeah, that sucks. But it sounds like quite the beginning to that story of getting into shooting Canon. Are you still shooting Canon?
Yeah, I am. R5 Mark II.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, the 60 is a pretty good camera to start with, to be honest. You probably were getting some really good wildlife photos in Costa Rica with that camera.
Yeah. And I loved it. I was probably more patient then than I am today.
Yeah, we all go through a bit of a learning curve. That's true. I was saying on one of the last podcasts that I took a 3-hour exposure once when I was just trying to learn like what the hell the camera can do, It was crap, but there's no way I would have that patience now.
No, exactly. Well, I just loved it, and I still do. Yeah, it's funny.
Was your uncle into photography as well then? Sorry to interrupt, but...
No, he loves wildlife. My uncle went to many Africa safaris with his family, and he just bought a camera, I guess, at some point. And when I went to Costa Rica, I asked him to borrow it.
Yeah, he's like, take this one. Yeah, not knowing that you would never bring it back. Or you bring back a newer version even.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so you go to university.
I guess.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, you're from the Netherlands, but it sounds like you actually haven't lived much in the Netherlands. Are you still like, when did you go to Norway? I guess for university, yeah? Can you speak Norwegian?
I had a Norwegian girlfriend who had a child, and we broke up when the child was 6 years old. So I would say my Norwegian is on a level of a 6-year-old child. That's basically it. Like when we met, it was a baby, and I would hold the baby in front of the fridge. Like, what do you want to eat? And she would point at things. So I learned what cheese is, and I know what butter is. And no, the thing is, I've always been in tourism, and it's English. Only during COVID, really, it was a lot of Norwegians traveling within Norway. But other than that, I'm pretty much in a international tourist sector, I would say.
Yeah, sure. Same here. I mean, I have a 4-year-old German son, half German, half Canadian, and he's definitely teaching me German at this point, which is quite funny. Yeah. All right. So you're in Norway. You've been there for quite a while. You go to university for ecology and wildlife management, which it's funny enough, it kind of feels like you're working in that field anyway, but within the tourism side of it. So you don't end up finishing school, but you've sold a photo. You're doing whale watching tours and in the tourism industry, and you're like, okay, shit, I think I can make photography something of a job. So how did you land your first like position as an expedition photographer? Like, how did you get to the Arctic, or did you go to the Antarctic first? I mean,
Antarctic first.
okay.
First. Really, really, really lucky. And this is funny. Yeah, I was sitting on the toilet. I was
Taking a shit.
yes, exactly. And I was just about to go out. I was actually guiding. So I was already a guide, like whale watching guiding, whale watching skippering, Northern Norway. I don't know if you know about this whale migration that is happening in the wintertime in Norway, but you get like the largest gathering of marine mammals, like orcas, humpback whales, and fin whales within one fjord. And people snorkel with them, and it's mad, absolutely insane.
Wow.
And this is, I'm talking about years ago, when I used to do this, before it got really busy and popular, I would say. But anyway, I was guiding a trip like that. I was on the toilet, about to finish, jump on a Zodiac on one of the rubber boats. You take the guest out to see the whales from closer by. As I get an email on my whatever iPhone 4 probably it was, I have no idea, the one with the home button that I remember because it didn't work. And I got an email, expedition guide wanted for ocean explorer, and I opened the email, and it was sent like to, I don't know, a few hundred people. I was in some sort of a list of if guides I wanted. And I saw that email, and I saw the ship, and it looked super new and fancy, and I'd never seen anything like that. And I didn't know the name of the person who sent the email, and I thought it was a bit of a, maybe a scam or whatever. I don't know. Nevertheless, I did answer it, though. I said, yes, I'm interested. Send me details, send me dates, send me whatever. I finish my toilet, jump on a boat, go out, watch the orcas, come back a couple of hours later, back to my phone, and I see, okay, these are the dates. Departure is in like 12 days from now. And I'm in Northern Norway. I had to be in Ushuaia. I'd never been to Antarctica. I'd never been on a ship like that. I'd never done anything like that. I said, yeah, time to go. Why not? My relationship was a bit in the ending phase there in Northern Norway. Anyway, let's go. And that's really what I did. Went to Antarctica, left everything behind in Northern Norway. Difficulties, and ever since then I haven't really owned a house. I'm living on ships about 8, 9, 10 months a year, pretty much. So I don't need a car, I don't need a house, I don't need any of that though. And after that, once you have one season, once you have done a season, basically the jobs, they keep coming.
Yeah, that starts rolling, right? Yeah, I've noticed that too with the Antarctica trips that I've done. A lot of the staff are like whale watching guides in Vancouver Island in the summertime in North America, and like sea kayaking guides. And then there's like one person who gets the job, and then before you know it, 2 seasons later, half of the staff are from Vancouver Island.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is really interesting. But no, I mean, that is very lucky. What year are we talking about? I mean, when was this? Do you remember?
Not that long ago.
2015, maybe? 2014?
No. I wouldn't know. But 5 years ago?
5 years, okay. Pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, because 5 years ago is already 2020.
Yeah, it was actually, so the pandemic was coming at an end. We still had all these COVID rules on board. We were wearing face masks.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And it was hectic. It was very difficult, but because I don't know if you remember all the stories of cruise ships getting locked, let's say, in a port, and they weren't allowed to disembark their passengers, and new passengers were not allowed to come on board, and it was a mess. And the whole expedition team had COVID, and an expedition leader was operating the trip in Antarctica from his cabin, so they placed him up to a top cabin on the ship, and he was with his binocular looking at zodiacs, and telling people where to go and get guides, how to drive or whatever. Like, it was a mess. But everyone was a bit like, we were doing COVID tests. Like, me, myself, like the guides, we were testing our guest on
The
board.
passengers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that was hectic times. So the first time I went to Antarctica was 2022. And there were still like relatively strict COVID regulations. I had to do a PCR test to get onto the ship. And I remember thinking like, damn, if I fail this PCR test, 24 hours, 48 hours before you're getting on the boat, I've just spent all this money to get down here. And, I was working, but yeah, I bet it happened to a lot of people. Yeah.
They just traveled in the plane. You got COVID on the plane, and your Antarctic your future trip was ruined, or worse, or better, basically for those people. Then at least they didn't test positive before departure yet, so they were on the ship. But then obviously in the tent, so it spread throughout the ship. The air conditioning it was messy. It was very, very messy. But yeah, that was for me a bit of a step up, and then things go really, really fast, and especially with the speed that I've been working, like one trip after another, no breaks in between. After COVID, I mean, it was hard financially. I had to also recover a bit from that, of course, as an independent or freelancer. So lost a lot of income for 2 years, then started to work, tried to build up some savings again, and do a lot of experience, go from bigger ships to smaller ships, and then eventually you find your place where you like it, where you want to be. Now I work a lot on the really small ships, the 12 passenger vessels. That is pretty much as small as you can go in the expedition industry, which is for wildlife photography, or for photography in general, obviously the most ideal place to be. 12 people, super flexible. You have only 2 guides, 2 Zodiacs, 6 people per boat rather than 10 in a boat. So there's more space for gear or for long lenses to swing around. You get much closer to the wildlife, I would say.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. No, I as a tour leader and a small groups adventure professional, I know exactly what you're talking about. Good on you, man. So that's actually not as long as I thought. I thought that you would be a bit earlier than the pandemic. So we have a lot in common that way. I used to lead tours back to back to back as well, and live nomadic also. So that first job as an expedition leader in Antarctica, expedition guide, is very lucky. A lot of people really strive for that role and that position, but it's also very difficult. How did you start like the photography side of things? Like, did you bring a camera down with you? Were you taking photos anyway already on the boat? Like, how did that kind of fall into place?
If friends of me that were on that trip actually ever gonna see this video recording we're doing now,
I hope so. You're gonna share it with them, man.
They're gonna love it and laugh about it. So it was a brand new company, brand new ship. Everything was new, and nothing was really established yet. So I brought my camera. I had a GoPro. GoPros are great, or they used to be great in Antarctica. Blah blah blah. And normally on ships like that, there is an onboard photographer who provides a video or some still images for the guests at the end of the voyage. They either can buy it from the photographer. It depends a bit on the company. Some of the companies, they don't pay the photographer, so he basically needs to really work in order to sell on board to the passengers in order to earn an income. Or the photographer is just paid as being a photographer, and then he gives everything basically to the guest as a memory. Or you make a video at the end of the trip and the guests, they get it on a USB stick or whatever. Anyway, this company didn't have that, but I was new in the industry and I didn't know anything about it. But I was basically the only one in the expedition team that was so much into photography and that had a semi-professional camera. But I was paid as an expedition guide. I took photos for myself, and then eventually I started in the back of the lounge to show them to some of the passengers, and they liked them. So I started to sell them to the passengers on board. And that went so well that by the end of the trip, I probably doubled or tripled my salary by selling photos on the boat. Now, the problem is that the CEO of the company figured that out really, really quick. And that was not allowed. So I think I got actually fired for it. I don't know. It was also like, maybe I just left early. I don't really know anymore. But yeah, they loved it. And the person that hired me, that heard about this, thought, that kind of attitude. I mean, not that attitude, but something in that direction, a little bit out of the box thinking. I like that. So I got hired by him for another company, and then things went easy. Things were fun. So since then, I've been hired as a photographer. I don't sell anything behind the back of companies anymore. I just do nicely. I follow the rules as much as possible. But now I'm an onboard photographer, and then eventually to the smallest ships, like now the 12 passenger vessels. They are mostly photography interested people booking trips like that, or people that really want to experience the wild and the nature and spend time with a subject. Doesn't really matter if it's an animal or beautiful light changing throughout the mountains. Just a bit more down to earth, calm, slow, or really fast sometimes, actually. A bit more time with your subject.
Yeah, I think that's how I came across your work as well. Within the last sort of 6 months, I picked up on that part of who you are now and who you're probably going to continue to be for quite a while. You've fallen into this niche industry of small group expeditions on, sailboats or yachts in the polar regions of the world. I mean, pinch yourself, dude. That is a pretty incredible position to be in. And there's obviously a lot of demand as, people want to continue to explore really remote places. So I think you're going to be on the cusp of an ever-changing environment and industry that it's going to be interesting to see, where this stands 5 years from now. Because I do think that, there's a lot of interest out there for polar bears. You got these two beautiful bears behind you, that awesome print at that hotel. And, we've seen that for years in Churchill, but how the climate in Manitoba is changing, how the climate at Svalbard is changing. I mean, do you see, I guess to change the subject a little bit from photography, do you see like a role for what you learn in the ecology classes in what you're doing now in regard to, of course, climate change? I mean, that's a given, but within the industry, talk a little bit about that.
Well, to talk about climate change itself is such a difficult.
I mean, I'm not a climate change expert either.
No, exactly. But the fact, it's a fact that the weather is changing, and there is a lot of like the winds. They are stronger, and the winds they stay maybe longer. Have weather patterns. They hang above Svalbard or whatever. More and more precipitation in Antarctica is increasing. So it's great news that the glaciers in Antarctica are growing, and these are one of the few glaciers in the world that are growing. But it's only because there's more snowfall than ever before. Antarctica is a desert, right? It should not snow that much. Mm-hmm. And all that snow is actually a lot of negative side effects for breeding penguins or and various things. So, and here in Svalbard, 2 years ago, we had unbelievable amount of sea ice. We had more sea ice, I believe, than ever or in the past 30 years. So if you read something like that, you think, whoa, how bad can the climate change be? And then this year, there wasn't much ice at all. You don't see glaciers retreating really like that within a couple of years, right? This is all long term. But when you see photos of a place of 100 years ago and today, now I'm standing there myself, and you compare those two images, and there's obvious changes are happening.
You're on the front lines, my man. That's for sure.
Yeah, but that is a big part of the tourism as well, right? So what we try to make people aware of the place where we are, and obviously we are guests in an environment of those animals, right? Those polar bears, those seals, anything really. It's not just the wildlife, it's also the flowers and the mushrooms and then the vegetation underneath that snow, and the whole system here, how it works together with the midnight sun during the summer times and the polar nights in the winter time, how it all balances, and then by April when the sun returns, then the sea ice is at its biggest. Like at the end of the winter, sea ice is most expand, and the fjords are frozen, and the midnight sun returns mid-April, and which creates such a amount of energy and life again, and the sun starts to grow the plankton underneath the sea ice, and the seals are feeding on it, and the seals, they give birth in April, and the polar bears, they are coming out of the dens with the cubs mid-April, because there's an abundance of food and energy and life, all created by the sun. But it all depends on that sea ice, really. That sea ice is so important. The polar bears, they hunt on it. The seals, they give birth on it. The plankton is growing underneath the ice. We need it. It's one circle.
Yeah, it's all one big connected ecosystem. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for touching on that. That's really, really valuable information and stuff that people do learn a lot of when they're on expedition ships. You know, a big part of Antarctica is having naturalists on board, ornithologists, ecologists, you know, a team of scientists and expedition leaders, or sorry, expedition guides, and also, you know, one token photographer normally. So, you know, obviously you have a great depth of knowledge about these environments, especially in the Arctic. And I would say your photos stand out because they are like really dramatic and really well composed and edited and whatnot. So like, when did you kind of realize that, oh shit, yeah, my photos are way better than everybody else's? And like, you know, that one guy who said that he would buy the whale photo, I get that. But was there like a spark in you that was like, okay, no, I can definitely do this as a professional photographer? Or is it just kind of happened?
But still, I don't really believe. I mean, there's so many great photographers out there, and there's a lot of other great guides out there as well, but they take amazing images. And it's hard to compliment your own work. I find it difficult. I'm always comparing with others, and there's always someone that has a better photo. And that also keeps it fun and sharp, right? Like, you need to improve. You want to be out there to get that shot one day. And every year, I mean, it gets less and less, right? The first year I was here, I was happy that I had a polar bear in focus. Wow, I nailed it. And now, I mean, it needs to be low angle, it needs to be in the ice, the light needs to be good, blah, 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 blah. But also, I am here for the guests, right? I am driving a Zodiac. I am here for the safety. You carry the rifle. You need to... I can't look through the viewfinder constantly, and I miss... Most of the photos I miss because I am there for the guest. I put the guest in the best position, not myself. So I just snap a little bit around it, and every now and then you nail it. And if you get 5 photos, or maybe 10, I don't know, right? It all depends a bit on the year, but a couple of good shots a year is good. But you can't make a living from it. And I make a living from the guiding, from the expedition leading, from the... I do a lot in between camera teams that come to Svalbard that ask for support, or chartering a ship for them, and I provide guides, put it on it. I'm not doing everything myself anymore. I have a big team around me with lovely people that help, and together we make things possible. I have a girlfriend that does everything behind the scenes for me, because I'm just that idiot running around chasing light. Yeah. So to make a living from the photography is very difficult, I would say, but it helps me to brand myself, to be hired for the kind of trips that I like to be on.
Yeah, I mean, you recently switched up the style, 180 degrees, and went to the Pantanal in Brazil. Tell me a little bit about that trip. I mean, did you go there as a leader? Were you on a workshop, or did you go there on your own? Was it a personal trip?
The Pantanal is have you been?
Yes. Yeah, a few times.
So it's such an incredible place, and I always wanted to be there. It's a kind of silly, but I fly from Longyearbyen, from Svalbard, basically to Antarctica twice a year, right? And I stop a lot in Torres del Paine. I go to Patagonia. I love Patagonia. It's wild. Rent a car. Go like 2 weeks in between the seasons, between contracts. Take a car. Go for a road trip. Make a bonfire. Go for hikes. Try to find some pumas. I love the puma photography.
Yeah.
And I use that as my holiday. But then I done that a couple of times, and then I always fly over the Pantanal, and I know where it is, and I really want to go there, but never found the time. And it's hot. It's bloody hot. Anyway, long story short, last year I went there, spent a lot of time, or spent a month there, I believe. Amazing. I fell in love with the Pantanal. I spoke with a couple of friends. They did lead a couple of trips there before. Got a lot of inside tips and tricks, and met the right people. And in a month from now, I do one more month in Svalbard now. The 4th of September, I finish here. Then I go for 3 weeks to Zambia. I am invited to come and photograph a couple of lodges and check out their products and trips together with my girlfriends. And then we fly straight from Zambia to the Pantanal. I'm 5 weeks in the Pantanal, guiding two groups, and they do so well. Everyone loves the Pantanal. A photographer or just a general nature lover, anyone who loves wildlife or nature. So yeah, that does really well. For next year, I'm already fully booked again.
Yeah, good. Okay, so these tours that you're mentioning now is sort of getting into the world of TRVL photography as well. And are you now are you selling on your own, or are you doing this as part of a separate business?
No.
Oh, it's your own business. So are you selling to mostly Dutch people, Europeans, or what's your market? All over the place?
All over the place.
Oh, wow.
All
okay.
Well,
good for you.
European, North American, I would say. But I was really worried at first because people, they relate me, or they see me as a polar guide, Antarctica, Arctic, that's what Piet does. And I was worried, like, the Pantanal is such a different environment, and what do I know about jaguars? More and more, hopefully, but and I was afraid that I wouldn't sell. I mean, there's so many people that sell the Pantanal, or that go to the Pantanal, and maybe it's even a place that you can go by yourself, right? You don't need to go with anyone, really. But yeah, it's sold very well, and people love it. People love to come with me, and of course, it's a bit hand-on tips and tricks and a bit of editing in the evening. But I also don't want to do the whole world, right? If you want to go to Africa, I'm not your guy, or at least not yet. Maybe in 15 years I'm there, but for now I try to focus on the polar regions. But long-term thinking, I'm also afraid, like, I need to work another 30 years at least. I just turned 30 years old now, and I need to probably work another 25, 30 years, maybe even more. And is that realistic? Are we going to keep doing what I'm doing now in 25 years from now? Is Antarctica still open for tourists? Are we still going to be there? Or shall we say at some point, let's put a big circle around Antarctica and let it be wild? I mean, Antarctica is doing just fine without us. The impact tourism has on these places, I mean, it is significant, especially if it is not done in a proper way.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a subject that I don't think the listeners or viewers have heard much about. But I also think that there's a limited time of tourism in Antarctica. If you get the right politics involved, there could be the Antarctic Treaty. If those countries all come together and they decide, actually, yeah, this is not the way we're going. Like, this is not it. Krill fishing, for example, is absolutely terrible for supplements and for like creams and shit like that. Like, it's ruining the ecosystem. So we might not even have anything to fucking go down to. You go to Antarctica and there's nothing there. So yeah, except for landscapes, but still crazy. Yeah, that's a whole other topic. And
I mean, it's
really
not
interesting.
obviously it's krill fishing and the impact of so many things. But what if one of those cruise ships you have massive vessels traveling down to Antarctica or coming here to Svalbard or Greenland, or like if think about safety, really, if a ship like that with 500 passengers hits a rock, runs aground, creates an oil spill, in the worst case it sinks. You have 500 people laying in the cold water. What about search and rescue? Where are they going to come from? I mean, they have 2 helicopters on the island here in Svalbard, or maybe 4, I don't know, but very, very few. There's a hospital. Well, good luck here. We are miles away, right? We are in the Arctic. Do you want those big ships coming in and the responsibility or the risk? Like you don't want to have an oil spill in Antarctica.
No, the risk is huge. Absolutely huge. Yeah,
So
let alone avian flu as well, right? With the penguins, like the spreading of disease. Yeah, there's tons of stuff.
yeah, well, I mean, that would have happened anyway, probably with or without humans, or maybe not. I don't know, but obviously we are a risk factor in these areas. So should we be there? That's a question I ask myself very often, and the only reason why I can still look in the mirror and look myself in the eyes is because I know that, or at least I hope that my images, the stories, and the guiding leave or make impact and make a change to people that inspire others again. And I'm well aware that me and guests that are traveling with me or other companies traveling to the polar regions, we are probably just 1% or 2 of the world population that is fortunate enough to actually see these places. Whereas David Attenborough said a couple of years ago, right, you can only protect something that you know. And once you have experienced it, you actually really start to care about it.
Yeah, that's why people become ambassadors for the Arctic and the Antarctic. Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. I agree with you 100%. And being able to share that with the listeners to this podcast and the viewers is just the tip of the iceberg, for lack of a better term, pun intended, because there is a lot more you can learn. Okay, crazy, Pete. We're coming up on almost an hour already. I think we're over 40 minutes. Yeah, comes quick. But I find it really unique where we are right now. I didn't know you were just 30 years old. It sounds like you're trying to find a balance between, being a tour leader and a professional photographer and also an expedition guide and, a freelancer at the same time, and trying to kind of shape where your business is going. And you got a team that's helping you. And obviously there's demand, which is really nice to see. I know a big part of risk in this business is, you got this idea to run a new tour. Like in my case, it was to southern China. And I was like, southern China, like there might be some political problems with that, or people might not want to go there. But I really want to go for photography and for travel experiences. I think it's going to be phenomenal. So I developed a very unique trip, with a local photography company that's going to help me run it, and sort of connected with them, designed a whole itinerary, put it out there, which is the biggest risk. And then when it does sell, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm doing something right, And then once you've got the minimum numbers that you need to run the tour, you can really kind of dig into the details and lock everything down. But you're trying to find that balance, which is perfect timing to be talking to you here on the TRVL Travel Photography Podcast. Because I reckon for those people that are interested in what we've covered, they're going to start following you. And I'm very keen to see where you end up in 5 years. And hopefully we can stay in touch, and we'll maybe like readdress this episode 5 years from now.
When your show goes up,
yeah, right. When everybody's going to know who we are, right? Yeah. Well, right now your episode...
We do this again live next to each other in the Arctic on board of a ship.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, with perfect satellite, internet access, no problem. Exactly. Yeah, you're episode number 9, so let's see. But yeah, it sounds like you got quite the year. Heading off to Zambia. Have you been to Zambia before?
No, first time.
Okay, you're probably going to South Luangwa National Park. Yeah, that's the first place I saw leopards in the wild. It is a stunning national park. You're in for a treat for sure. One of my favorites. Yeah, I was there in 2012, so that is 15 years ago, my man. But from what I've heard, it's still pretty awesome. So
I look forward to it. It is a bit of an exploration trip. My girlfriend's fiance will be there, She's a much better photographer than I am. She's a better videographer than I am. She's a better editor than I am. And people like her more than me.
Okay, this is your girlfriend? You said your girlfriend's fiance, which means your girlfriend's getting
Oh,
married to somebody else.
we got engaged last April here in Longyearbyen. Actually, we are running trips, snowmobile trips.
Oh, she's your fiance.
She's my fiance. Yeah.
Hey, congratulations, dude.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was lucky enough last April we did winter trip here in Svalbard, snowmobiles, winter camping, fantastic photography, really, really cool. Next to that, it's a cool experience. So I took her here to the Arctic, and it's like minus 25, minus 30 degrees Celsius. Like, it's really, really cold. And I knew a super cool place here, just out of town, 20 minutes by snowmobile. And there's an ice cave, like an old meltwater channel from a glacier that in the winter freezes completely. Like, it's basically a big waterfall system that completely freezes, so you can slide down underground. And we did that last April. I asked her there. I went on a knee. She said yes. She's working for me a lot, and we do all this cool stuff together. But a lot of the time we're separated, which is not easy because I'm doing this kind of stuff, and she's helping me in the back end, on the computers and emails and cutting images and or videos and try to sell stock footage, stuff like that. So it's nice that we're gonna travel together for 2.5 months.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Is she from the Netherlands?
She's Swiss.
Swiss, of all places.
Make it difficult.
Yeah. Well, my wife is German, so does she speak Swiss German?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Swiss German.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. Neither do I. But a lot of Swiss people can speak Hochdeutsch, which is a bit easier
Hochdeutsch.
for me. Yeah.
How's your German?
Pretty good. I'm a B1 level right now. I'd probably actually say B2, but I haven't taken the official test for it. So, but yeah, it's good, man. I have 2 kids. You know, I'm living in Germany for 5 years, so I would say I can easily speak German. I actually did a live YouTube video last month for like over an hour in German.
In German?
Yeah, that was a good test about photography, thankfully. So yeah, that's on YouTube.
Well, you live in Hamburg, right?
Yeah, man. I live in Hamburg, but I'm like kind of like you. I travel the world. I used to travel the world all the time, but for the last 5 years since the pandemic, really, our lives have changed. My wife included. We used to travel together. So since the pandemic, she got pregnant, and our lives totally changed in a positive way, but just different. But I'm also 10 years older than you, so things are a bit different.
I might be there in 10 years, but
yeah, let's see, man. Let's see. All right,
I love to come to Hamburg, have a beer together.
One day, that would be sick. All right. Thank you so much for making the time. Guys who are listening, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Be sure to follow Piet on his channels. I'll link them in the description. And Piet, do you have any closing words for the people watching or listening?
Let's have some fun. I think 3 years ago, I was not in a very good spot with myself. It was difficult finding balance again. It's all about balancing in life. I found it back. I found joy back with my photography, with the traveling. I really, really did. And I'm just super excited about the future. Constantly, every day. Waking up, there's something happening, good happening every day.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I agree. Keep finding those wild animals in the wild. Keep the joy, keep the happiness alive, my man, because you're on a fantastic journey, dude. You're on a path, and it's only a bright future ahead of you. So have an awesome time. And take care and enjoy your travels for the rest of the year. We'll be in touch.
Cheers.
All right,
Thank you very much.
No problem. See you later.